Hey guys, you're welcome back to my channel today. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, I'll be making this gorgeous two-piece that you can see on your screen. If you're interested, keep on watching and let's get started. So we'll start by cutting and sewing the skirt part first, and I have my pattern paper on my work table. This pattern paper is folded into two. What I'm going to do is to take my zipper allowance. So I'll be cutting the back part of the skirt. I'm cutting the back and the front together. So I'll first of all take my zipper allowance of 1.5 inches from the closed edge of this pattern paper. As you can see, I'll mark the 1.5 inches all the way down, and I'm going to connect into a straight line. Okay, so after doing that, I'm going to label this part my zipper allowance, and then I'm going to fold it inward. Okay, I'm doing this because I want to cut the front and the back part of the skirt together. So after folding it like this, I'm going to bring in my front pattern paper. It's also on fold, so I'm going to place the folded edge on this part, as you can see, and I'm going to use my pin to hold the both pattern paper together. The next thing I'm going to do, guys, is to take the distance from my waist to my hip. So I'll be adding a 2 inches band to this skirt. The distance from the waist to hip that I'm working with is 9 inches, but since I'm going to add a 2 inches band to the skirt, I'm going to mark 7 inches on this pattern paper. Okay, 7 plus 2 is 9 inches. I hope you're not confused. I'll mark the 7 inches all the way around, as you can see, in order for me to get a straight line. After doing that, I'm going to roll a straight line across, and I'll label this line my hip line. So the start of this pattern paper is going to be my waistline. So after doing that, guys, the next thing I'll do is to place my body measurement. So I'm going to place my tape on the folded edge of this fabric, and I'm going to place my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll indicate that. After doing that, I'll add 1 inch for stitching allowance. So I'm not adding any dart allowance to this skirt because I don't want to take in my darts. Okay, so on the hip line, I'll place my hip circumference divided by 4, and I'll also add 1 inch for my stitching allowance. After doing that, I'm going to connect from the waist to meet the hip like this, and after doing that, I'm going to connect from the hip to meet the skirt length. So guys, this part of the skirt that we are cutting is the half length, because this skirt has a ruffle on the base, so we are cutting out the half length of our skirt. Okay, so after connecting like this, I'm going to cut this part out. So the next thing we're going to do is to go up. Okay, I'll go down, sorry, from my waistline by about 5.5 inches. You can do 4 inches, you can do 6 inches, depending on how deep you want this to be. On the base, I'm going to go inward, as you can see, by another 5.5 inches, and then I'm going to connect these 2 dots, as you can see. So I'm giving it that shape that you can see on the front part of the skirt. After connecting, this is what I have, guys. So the next thing I'll do is to determine the length of this half length. So from my hip line, you can either come down by 3 inches or 4 inches. For me, I'm going to go down from the hip by 4 inches, as you can see me doing, and then I'm going to connect into a straight line. So I roll a straight line across. So this is the length of my half length. That's 4 inches away from my hip line, and you can do 3 inches away from your hip line. I'm going to confirm this same measurement that I just took, 5.5 inches here, and 5.5 inches down, so it's still intact. What I'm going to do is to cut out this excess fabric that we have on the base. So I think you should measure your length, take out your length first before you start placing your measurements. So what I'll do is to connect from the base to meet the hip line in a slant. Okay, so I'm just going to slant like this. After doing that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut. But before I cut, I'm going to confirm the measurement that I have here, which is 11 inches. I'm going to add 2 inches for my band, making it 13 inches. So after doing that, I'm going to go ahead and cut. After cutting, guys, this is what I have for the front. As you can see, the center front is on fold, and this is what it looks like. For the back, I also have this, so you can see my zipper allowance at the back. What I'll do is to split my zipper allowance open. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and split it open. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to place both patterns on my fabric folded into two, and I'm going to go ahead and cut. So the center front should be on fold exactly as it is on this pattern paper. I've gone ahead to place my patterns on my fabric. This is what I have for the front. The center front is on fold, and you can see what it looks like on the side. So I'm just going to cut about 1/4 inch away from the pattern paper, especially on that circle area. After doing that, go ahead and notch this hip point, because that's where you are going to join. You are going to stop joining the front and the back piece. I hope you understand. So I've notched the hip point. This is what I have after cutting. So for the back, guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut it the way I did for the front. On this circle part, I'll cut about 1/4 inch away from the pattern paper. After cutting, guys, this is what I have. So I also notch the hip points just like I did for the front, and then I'm going to remove my pattern paper. So this is what the back pattern looks like. I have these two pieces of fabric, okay, and I have my zipper allowance at the back. For the front, I'll also remove my pattern paper, and I'll show you guys what the front looks like. Okay, so the center front is on fold. Please do not forget that, it's very important. Okay, I'm going to open it up. The next thing I'll do now is to join the front and the back together. Okay, so what I'll do is to open the front piece right sides facing me, and then I'm going to bring in the back piece. I'm going to place them right sides facing right sides, as you can see. After doing that, I'm going to pin, okay, just to hold it down before I sew. I'll pin the other side of the back piece to the front piece also, and I'll go ahead and use my pin to hold it down. After doing that, I'm going to sew on the side using my 1 inch stitching allowance that I added to the pattern paper. Okay, after sewing, this is what I have. I stopped on the hip point. That is why I notched the hip point. So that is where my sewing stopped for the fabric. So guys, next now just to attach my band of 2 inches. I've already gone ahead to cut out this long piece of fabric, okay, and I ironed stay to give it strength, because this fabric is a silk fabric. And before I forget, I'm using 3 yards of silk fabric for both the skirt and the top. So the length of this fabric, this band, is 5 inches, as you can see. On fold, it is 2.5 inches. I'll be using 5 inches to attach the band to the skirt, and then I'll be left with 2 inches, which was what we took out before we started taking our point on the pattern paper. So I hope you guys understand. So what I'm going to do is to pin the band to the waist area of this skirt, and I'm going to sew 0.5 inches all the way. After doing that, I'll be left with my 2 inches, which is my band intake. So guys, I've gone ahead to sew the band in place, and this is what I have. Okay, my band is now 2 inches, which is exactly what I want. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over for you guys to see what it looks like. So I'll measure and confirm that what I have on this band area is 2 inches. So the next thing I'll do is to place my tape on all the opened edge of this skirt, and I'm going to measure what I have. Okay, this is what I want to use to cut out the fabric that I'll be using for the ruffle. After measuring, what I had was 62 inches. Okay, so I have this piece of fabric that I'll use to complete my skirt. So first of all, you're going to measure how long you want your skirt to be, and then you're going to minus whatever you have for the half length already. So I have 13 inches for my half length. Sorry, I'm placing 12 inches. I miscalculated. So the length of my skirt is 44 inches. I added 2 extra inches for hemming allowance. So what you are going to do is to times whatever you measured from this open part of the skirt. You are going to times it by 3 if you have enough fabric. Okay, it's going to give you that full, very full effect. Okay, for me, I don't have enough fabric. Like I said, I'm using 3 yards. So what I have here is 3 yards, which is about 108 inches. That's 36 times 3, so it's not wide enough. So if you want a fuller effect, go ahead and times whatever you get by 3 and use it to pleat. You can either pleat or gather. Okay, for me, I'm going to gather, so go ahead and gather it all the way inside all this opening that you can see all the way. Okay, that's that for the skirt. So for the blouse, I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into 4 because I want to cut both front and back pattern together. Okay, so the length of my blouse is 21 inches, but I added 1 inch for hemming allowance. So what I have here is 22 inches, and I also added 1.5 inches, which is going to serve as my zipper allowance for the back. So as you guys saw earlier, the blouse is a very long blouse. It even got to the hip point. So from this folded edge, I'm not taking my measurement from the zipper allowance. Okay, I'll go in by half of my shoulder measurement. I'll indicate that. On that point, I'll go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and I'll slant from that point into the neckline area like this. The next thing I'll do is to start taking my points. The distance from my shoulder to my bust point is 10 inches. I'll indicate that and I'll rule a straight line across. The next point is distance from my shoulder to my waist point, which is 16 inches. I'll also indicate that and I'll rule a straight line across. The next point is my top length, my blouse length, which is 22 inches. So like I said, if you want your top to be very long because the blouse got to the hip point, you can take 23 to 24 inches. Okay, and if you want a crop top, you can totally do that. You can stop at the waistline, or you can go down by 1 inch from your waistline, depends on what you want. So the next thing I did was to place my tape, and I went down by half of my round armhole circumference minus 1 inch, because this is like a sleeveless top. The sleeve did not get to the armhole area, so I took out 1 inches from my around armhole circumference. So instead of placing 8 inches, I went ahead to place 7 inches. Okay, and I connected from that point to meet the shoulder slope, as you can see. Okay, so after doing that, I went ahead to find the middle point of this straight line. I indicated that. On this chest line, I'll place my bust circumference divided by 4, and then I'm going to connect from the middle of this straight line to meet it. I hope I'm not too fast. I hope you guys are following. Okay, so next thing I'll do is to take 1 inch, which is going to serve as my stitching allowance. Okay, on the waistline, I'll place my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll indicate that and I'll add 1 inch for my stitching allowance. because we want the base of our blouse to be free for easy access, especially if you're not going to add a long zipper. So what I'll do is to place the same measurement that I have on the bust line, I'll place it on the hip line, which is also my blouse length. After doing that, I'm going to connect all the dots, as you can see. So for the base to be free, I'm going to go inward by 3 inches, okay, and then I'll go up by another 3 inches. So I'm going to now curve from the base to meet these 3 inches like this, okay. This is to give it a little bit of opening so that it will sit well, especially on the hip area, okay. I hope you guys are not confused. So after connecting like this is what I have. The next thing I'm going to do is to take my neckline measurement. For the width, I'll be using 3 inches. As you saw on the thumbnail, this neckline is a very fitted neckline. For the width, I went down by 3.5 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and connect like this. For the width of the back, I'll take 1.5 inches. So I want the width of the back to be high neck, so that was why I took 1.5 inches. After doing that, I connected it to meet the neck width, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut. After cutting out the side, I'll first of all cut out the back neckline, okay, which is 1.5 inches. I'll cut it out like this. After doing that, I'm going to cut the front neckline alone, okay. After cutting, I'll cut the shoulder slope together, and I'll go ahead and remove my pins for you guys to see. After cutting, guys, I'm going to go ahead and adjust the zipper area for the back. So I took 1.5 inches for my zipper allowance. What I'll do is to reduce half an inch from it on the waistline. I'll take out half an inch, and then I'll slant from that point. I'll slant from that point to meet the neckline area. As you can see, this is to avoid zip bulge. You can see that this blouse is really long. If you don't do this, your zip is going to bulge at the back, it's going to stand, okay. So make sure you adjust the zipper area on the waistline, okay. After doing that, I'll remove my pins. So this is my back piece and this is my front piece. The center front is on fold, do not forget that, and we have 2 pieces for the back. So I'm going to adjust the back, okay, just so the waist area is sitting well and our zip is not standing. So I'm going to place them back right sides facing right sides, okay. And on the waistline, that is the length of my blouse, I'm going to go up by 1 inch, because if the waist of the back and the front is sitting together, it's going to bulge. So I'm going to go up by 1 inch, and I'll slant it back into the other side, as you can see. After doing that, I'm going to cut it out, okay. So this part of the waist is going to sit well on the waist area, okay. So after cutting, this is what I have, guys. The next thing I'm going to do for both the front and the back is to cut out facing. In case you don't have enough fabric to cut out facing, go ahead and use your bias to pipe the neckline. You can even hem it if you want to. So this is the fabric for my facing. I'm going to place the front on it, making sure that the folded edge is also placed on the folded edge of this fabric that I'm using to cut out the facing. After placing it, determine how long you want the facing to be, and then I'm going to pin it down. After pinning, I'm going to go ahead and cut. As you can see, after cutting, I'll trim it off like this. Once I place it on it, this is what it's going to look like. So what I'll do is to sew, and then I'll use my hemming gum to just iron the rest part down. I'll repeat the same thing for the back, as you can see, and then I'll adjust it to how wide I want it to be. I'm going to now place them right sides facing right sides. I'll sew and then I'll iron with my hemming gum just so everything stays flat. I've gone ahead to do that for the back, and I also went ahead to fix my zipper on the back. As you can see that you cannot find any stitch on the neckline area. That's how neat I want it to be. I also went ahead to hem the base of this back before fixing my zipper. Guys, this is my front piece. I've also gone ahead to use the facing to turn the neckline, and I ironed the facing down using my hemming gum. The next thing I'll do is to join the shoulder. I'm going to place the shoulders like this, lining facing lining, and the main fabric facing the main fabric, as you can see. After doing that, I'm going to cut out my sleeves. For the sleeves, I've gone ahead to cut out this piece of fabric. The wideness of my sleeves is 10 inches, okay, and the length of this sleeves is 6 inches. So I'm going to fold it. After folding it, the length of the sleeves is 3 inches. So the sleeves is going to be on fold. This fabric is going to serve as the lining. So the length of my sleeves is 3 inches and the wideness is 10 inches. I'm going to sew on both sides of the sleeves, okay, by half an inch. So the wideness of my sleeves is going to be 9 inches. So guys, I've gone ahead to join both shoulders together, and this is what my blouse is looking like. The next thing I'm going to do is to bring in my sleeves that I've already sewn. So like I mentioned earlier, I sewed half an inch on both sides, so I'm going to turn it to the right side. Okay, I'm going to turn it to the right side. So after sewing half an inch on both sides, the length of my sleeves is now 9 inches. Sorry, the wideness of my sleeves is now 9 inches, not 10 inches anymore. So what I'll do is to fold it into two, and I'm going to notch the middle. After doing that, I'm going to now place it on the shoulder area, the joint part of the shoulder area, as you can see, and then I'm going to pin. Okay, after pinning, I'm going to sew. I'll stop where it stops. Okay, I've gone ahead to stitch down, and this is what I have, guys. So the next thing I'm going to do is to hem this armhole area. So I'm going to fold it back, as you can see, to give it a neat finishing. Okay, and I'm going to sew from there all the way. I'll sew on the sleeves also all the way down. So after top stitching, I'll top stitch on the sleeves. Okay, just so it's flat. I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. So guys, I've gone ahead to top stitch. As you can see, this is what it looks like. Okay, I've also closed the other side of the armhole area just so it's neat. So all you have to do is to iron everything flat. Okay, so this is what the blouse is looking like. You can see that everything is coming together. The next thing I'm going to do is to hem the base of the front, because I've already done that for the back. I'll hem the base, and then I'm going to go ahead and join both front and back piece together using my 1 inch that I left for my stitching allowance. I'm going to sew from the armhole area. Okay, so make sure you arrange everything in place, and then I'm just going to sew all the way down. After joining both front and back piece, guys, this is what I have. So the next thing I'll just do is to give it a good press, and that is all for this blouse tutorial. Okay, so like I said, you can make it into a crop top if you want. So guys, for the skirt, after sewing my ruffle in place, this is what I have. The next thing I did was to fix my zipper, and I closed the back of the skirt, and I also hemmed the base. So if you want to create any design on the front, you can go ahead and do that. So guys, that is all for this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. Don't forget to like this video, leave your questions in the comment section. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.